welcome back to the Dare to podcast. I'm your host, Mette Hansen, and a couple of weeks ago I had the pleasure to talk with Magnus Bulkan once again. Was a really great talk that we had, and we talked about, this time we talked about feeling lonely and building meaningful relationships and how to kind of navigate in when we are young and also older, but how to navigate in finding what works for you when it comes to spending time alone with yourself and actually feeling like you're not lonely, but you're just having a great time with yourself and you are able to do things with yourself and appreciate your alone time, and then also having time with others, meaningful, and spending time with people who give you meaningful relationships. So we talked about this and how Magnus' experience has been on this, because it was something that we dived into a bit on the first episode. If you haven't already listened or watched that, you can go and watch it on the YouTube channel or here on Spotify. And then we also talked about this saying. You might have seen it if you follow Magnus Bulkan on YouTube. If you do not, I'm not sure if he still has the video, because he just shifted his channel from English to Norwegian because he wants to do some native videos, and he's from Norwegian, so he's currently have been starting that up for the past couple of weeks, which is awesome. I support him in all of what he do, because he's I do for all people, but yeah, he's a very genuine and kind guy, and very, very inspiring, but also just has a lot of great advice, and he's just one of these guys that really can give some great meaning to one's life, because he just has a sense of the things that means the most to us. We talked about this saying that he actually have on a poster at home, and it's saying you're going to die. And when I first watched it on a video, I was like, why do you have that? I was like, that's very sad to look at. And after a couple of videos, I then realized the meaning behind it, and I don't know if I saw him explaining it himself, but I searched about it, and it's something that is inspired by a bigger thing that you can listen to later in the video, or later on the podcast here. So in the episode, the conversation. But yeah, he told what this means to him, and what it means to him, and how why he decided to, not decided, but yeah, what it actually means for him to have this, and to kind of live by in some ways also. And then we talked about a little a podcast and journaling, how his experience about this are something that we also talked about a bit in the first one. But I hope that you enjoy this part of the podcast, this episode with Magnus Bulkan, and feel free to reach out to the podcast, leave some feedback if you want that, or message Magnus if you enjoy having him here speaking and sharing his knowledge and journey and experience. If you want to take your time for it, you can also rate this podcast on Spotify, so that Spotify can see that people are liking it. But else, I just think that you should enjoy the conversation with Magnus Bulkan, and see ya. some of the things that we also, I'm sitting here with Magnus Bulkan, who I've had a talk with before, and we had a great conversation about fitness and mental health, how it plays a role in fitness, and Magnus's journey, not journal, but his journey with navigating in this, and recovering from a eating disorder, and coming to a great mental state where he knows a lot more about himself also. We talked also about last time we had a conversation about what makes us happy, and we were around these three things: gratitude, meaningful relationships, and responsibility. Because you have been watching this TED, which I've actually also seen, but I've not seen it fully before. But something I really resonated with was the thing that you mentioned about meaningful relationships. I'm just gonna close the door. Sorry. And I've just actually been listening to I don't know if you know Jay Shetty's podcast on purpose.
No, I don't think so.
Okay, but you talked about that you've been kind of that when you were younger, you used a lot of time on fitness, obviously because you loved it, and it was just a time for you and for being yourself and what you like to do. And then you started to become more aware of the meaning that the relationships had to. And something that I stumbled over was in this podcast was that we often tend to when we talk about being alone, just as adults or younger, we use the word aloneness, but there's also the word solitude. Do you know that?
Yeah, I know of that word. I'm not sure of the specific definition of it though, so that's probably why I don't use it.
Yeah.
Is it the same? Could you explain it? Because I'm not 100% specifically what it is.
So how he explained it, and I've just searched a bit for it, was that the difference between loneliness and solitude is that when I don't really know how to use it in a sentence, right? But solitude is like being in a state where you spend time with yourself and your own thoughts, and you don't feel like that you are separated from someone, but you feel like in a good state. I don't know if that's it's just kind of the way that I would describe it now, not the best way, but do you does that make sense for you?
Yeah, I think it somewhat makes sense. I feel like I've in the situations I've heard that word solitude, it's probably been in somewhat of a spiritual sense. So it makes sense then.
Actually when we meditate or just journaling, I know that you do also, spending time with ourselves and thinking about spending time with our thoughts and ourselves. And I think it's then when we talk about meaningful relationships, was this thing about navigating actually finding a way to grow meaningful relationships, but also at the same time knowing that when we spend time just being alone, it's not because we feel lonely. Can you tell more about how that has been for you? Yeah, if that
Like
is.
like how like what specifically about that?
Yeah, like how have you been navigating? Like, how was it for you when you find out? I remember you described having like using a lot of time on fitness and then realizing that that meaningful relationships or just building relationship with having friends and all that 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 was also just as important for you. Yeah.
Yes, sort of like how I transitioned
Yeah,
from
transition. Yeah, that's
yeah,
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 exactly.
okay. Yeah. I think like it's probably yeah, when I was very into fitness, I sort of like started to get into more like self-improvement sort of
Mm,
content as well. But I feel like what was really missing during that part, I feel like self-improvement is generally like a good movement, but I feel like it for puts too much emphasis on like focusing only on yourself. I
mm,
see seems sort of like a paradox that you sort of like should focus on other people too to actually improve your
mm,
life. But I feel like that's sort of like a lot of what self-improvement videos on YouTube and
yeah.
such is sort of like missing the aspect of like a community and other people,
Mm,
and yeah, just working on something that's greater than yourself and for benefits that surpass yourself too. So yeah, I just started to like really wonder like, okay, I feel like I'm doing good generally in like all of these self-improvement aspects, but I still feel
mm,
pretty unhappy and unsatisfied and miserable and all that. So I
mm,
just
yeah.
started to like yeah, just become more interested in like sort of what actually could improve my life, since I didn't feel like meditating and journaling. I feel like that's really good, but I feel like those things aren't going to like change your life. Yeah, just like that one thing. I feel like you need something else too, and at least for me, I mean, I
Mm,
feel like yeah, people probably lack different stuff. So
mm,
at least like for me in that circumstance, I really like just lacked a community and close friendships, and
mm,
yeah, just really the social aspect of life, which I feel like yeah, since I lacked it for a lot of years, I feel like that was probably one of the main reasons why I was so in my head and had a lot of like negative feelings and feelings of loneliness and
mm,
of not being good enough and stuff, since I always wanted to sort of like fit in, but I
mm,
just focused on fitness and the typical self-improvement stuff.
mm,
So yeah, I just started to delve more into yeah, for example that TED talk we talked about, that
mm,
was probably one of the things that opened my eyes a bit more to like, okay, like social relationships is probably a lot more important
mm,
than the little emphasis I put on it. So I'm going to try to
mm,
put more effort into actually being more with my family, being more with friends. I'm just going to see
mm,
how it goes. And that's really what I've been doing for like, not even like too long. I feel like I've, for, yeah, it's probably been like half a year since I really
mm,
like just started to put a lot more emphasis on it. I've been like really just caught up in my own stuff for like the longest time. So I feel like now yeah, it's only been like for a few months that I've
mm,
really just been trying to actually prioritize being social, being with people that I like being around.
mm,
Obviously that's like what you have to do. It probably isn't
mm,
the best thing if you're around the wrong people. If
mm,
you're around people who care for you and you care for them, I think that's going to be generally really good. And since I lack that in my life, I definitely feel like it's made my life a lot better. And that
mm,
was definitely like what I needed, just to be more around similar people, or at least like just genuine or positive people, people
mm,
that pushes me in the direction I want to go, instead of just yeah, making me worse in the direction I
mm.
want to go.
Yeah,
Hope that was a fine answer. I
it
feel like
was.
I went a bit off tangent there,
No,
but
it was really good. Thank you. But yeah, I totally understand and feel what you are saying, and it resonates with me also. For me, it's been like I think also about like the past health year, maybe a year, but it's been more yeah around that where I have like realized that I have to focus more on that, because yeah, there have been moments in my life where I neither have been feeling happy enough in the amount that I thought I would be able to reach. So yeah, that gave a little sense. So I hope that did to you also listening. But the next thing I then wanted to talk with you about is that on your YouTube videos, you have also mentioned it before, but you have been sharing this poster that says you're going to die.
Yeah.
Which when I saw it at first, I was like, "Whoa, that's very dramatic."
Looks pretty demonic and depressing, probably.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
like my first thought. But then when I like seen a couple of videos and gotten to see some more, I was like, okay, that actually give a lot of sense, and like I was able to look at more like in a perspective. And so yeah, could you tell more about what it means for you?
Yeah, so like, yeah, the post, yeah, says you're going to die, and
Mm,
it's sort of like, it's basically a stoic principle, which, yeah, it basically means memento mori, which is what like
mm,
the stoic philosophers used to remind themselves of, just because of how short life is,
mm,
and that nothing is going to last forever. So it's sort of like, it's fine if not everything works out, because everything is temporarily, and
mm,
yeah, you can't take anything for granted, really, because one day everything is going to be gone. So just like trying to, yeah, just reminding myself of that makes me a bit like more appreciative of the
mm,
time, of the people I'm around, like that my family, that my friends are going to die too. That's not a good
mm,
thought, but by thinking like that, sometimes I feel like you appreciate them more, just
mm,
having that in the back of your head, because I feel like death in general is something that society tries to sort of like just hide under the carpet and not
yeah.
like talk much about it. Also, I feel like a lot of people just go about life trying
Mm,
to, yeah, avoid the thought about death, because it scares them so much that they
mm,
don't even want to think about it, so that they just ignore it. And like eventually we're all going to die, so then they get old, and then they like start to realize like, okay, they're going to die, and since they didn't live life like being consciously aware of that, they didn't really do risks, because when you feel like something is going to last forever, then it's sort of like harder to do risks, because you're thinking
mm,
long term for safety and stuff. But
yeah.
like in the end, it can sort of be like a very like dark way of looking at it too. Like you're going to
Mm,
die, so I feel like that's probably why some people also don't really like that saying. And I sort of like have a dark humor. I sort of like yeah, I sort of like that it's on the outside it looks very like dark and demonic and stuff. I just have like a dark humor, so it sort of it's weird to explain, but I just find it funny like how some people look at that poster and think like
mm,
I'm a yeah, I'm like a devil worshiper, or just I'm really depressed or something. But yeah, I just find some amusement in it. Just it
mm,
looks really bad, but when you like think about it, explain it, actually
yeah.
has like a very good meaning behind it. So yeah, I just really like it for, yeah, just being a reminder that I'm gonna die, so that I sort of like chase my dreams, and
Yeah.
but I just remember that, yeah, nothing is temporarily. So yeah, but it's definitely like it's hard because a lot of people, when they think about death, I feel like at least in the beginning you're sort of like it sort of like paralyzes you, because when like the
Mm,
first time you really think hard about you're going to die, it's sort of like really depressing to think
mm,
that. But I feel like the more you think about it, at least to a certain extent, if you're very open-minded, and maybe if you
mm,
journal about it, and try to look at it with a positive outlook, it can be a good
mm.
reminder. Sort of like depends on the perspective you have on that sentence.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. And it also, in somehow it comes back to the fact of being comfortable with the uncomfortable thoughts of life.
Yeah,
Actually.
definitely.
Yeah, but I really like it also, even though I was like in the start, what the dang was that?
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
when my grandmother saw it, I think she got really like scared for me, because
uh,
she did not understand it. Thought I was, yeah, it was funny. She was like,
yeah.
"Oh no, why do you have that on your wall?" She sort of like freaked out. Thought I
Mm,
was, yeah, I don't know, but yeah, I explained it to her and it made sense. But yeah, I sort of like
yeah.
grim humor and stuff. So yeah, I
Yeah.
like that poster.
Yeah. How have you been talking with your family about like that? And also now that you mentioned the thing about talking about yeah, this. How are your people around you with that?
Like with just with that thing in general,
Yeah,
with the
yeah,
poster.
yeah.
Yeah, I think some friends get it. I feel like at least, yeah, when everyone see it, they're like, what the fuck is that? That's
Mm,
weird. But then I sort of like explain it to them,
mm,
and yeah, most of the time it makes sense. I feel like, yeah, people think it makes sense when I just explain it to them.
mm,
But yeah, a lot of people don't really think about that question. So yeah, it comes sort of like back to what I was saying earlier. Like, oh, yeah, they see that, then they might get like sad because they haven't really like
mm,
journaled a lot about that question. And I sometimes get like sad. I know, like often when I watch movies, when I see like
yeah,
people die and stuff, I sort of like get, it's pretty funny. I sort of like get like a bit sad inside me because that just
yeah,
reminds me of my own death, like seeing people die
mm,
in movies and stuff.
yeah,
But yeah, it does just really depends on the perspective you have, and as long as you try to look at that phrase with like a positive outlook, like it being a
mm,
reminder to, yeah, you're gonna die, but it's like a reminder that since you're going to die, then it's important to actually live your life, like
yeah.
just the brief moment you have on this earth, you know. So yeah, I
Ex-
try to look at it in that way.
Yeah, exactly, and take some risks to and believe
Yeah, exactly.
in
Yeah,
the.
yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh yeah, even in like a social, uh, yeah, just social events and stuff. When I feel like I'm ever like socially anxious or anything, I even think about that thing because yeah, if I'm scared of someone is going to judge me and stuff, I'm like, damn, this is scary at the moment, but in 80 years, I'm gonna be
Yeah,
dead. That other person is going to be dead. It's really going to matter.
mm,
No, so just
yeah,
go for it. Like,
yeah,
yeah. So even if it's just anything socially too, then even that helps. So I feel like you can sort of like help in any sort of risk you can take in life in a good
yeah,
way.
yeah. Well, that's a great thing to you
Yeah.
that it works for you. Um, but yeah, just taking risk and living life and yeah, doing the things so you don't regret it when you reach the end of your life, kind of.
Yeah. Yeah.
I also read the book of the five regrets of the dying, so it kind of reminds of the points of people who are
Yeah,
living.
isn't that the like I haven't read that book, but I heard a lot about it, and isn't like that the most or the biggest thing they regret, like the things they didn't do?
Yeah, yeah, like living life and believing in self, using more time with family and the people who meant something for them. And I haven't actually read it fully yet because I started like when I got it, and then I paused kind of, and then I have been reading in some other books. So now I'm beginning to read it, fully. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's a really good book, and it comes to it touched that thing obviously too. So yeah, it does. But how do you think that we as a society talk about, now you mentioned this fact that in society we aren't as good, or we aren't good at talking at the fact that we're going to die and the things about dying. And that's also something that I have I want to personally kind of make a change in, and because but how do you feel like for you that it is around you and in society? How do you experience it that we talk about it?
I feel like in general, a lot of people, at least like in the countries we live in, like
Mm,
more well off financially, there's pretty much almost every death is because of age or
mm,
rare disease, or maybe rarely, yeah, like self-harm, like suicide. But it's not like often people die, at least, yeah, most of the time in like our countries, people die from from old age, from pretty natural causes or diseases
mm,
when they're older. So it's sort of like very rare compared to like 2000 years ago. Then people, like teens, used to die all the time. Now people never die,
mm,
so it's a lot more scarce. It's not usual at all. And
yeah.
yeah, going back to like those philosophers, the Stoics,
Mm,
they always used to remind themselves of that memento mori phrase. They used to like,
mm,
yeah, just think about it, think about their family was going to die every single day, and they used to carry like a coin, or some of them that said like memento mori, just to remind them as well. And yeah, I feel like our society has like even become, I feel like we're becoming a lot more materialistic and becoming less spiritual, and yeah, just more focused on like our body and our image and our perception. So we're more like materialistic, and when you die or when you age as well, that's the thing that you probably lose the most. You get wrinkles, you get uglier, or at least you change, and most people don't like that change. So I feel like people just find it harder to accept that they're going to die and get like and look worse over time, since we're now more than ever just like too focused on how we look, how our bodies are, how our face looks, and we're just too attached to the visual things instead of actually like the emotions, what's on the inside, just how we're feeling and stuff. So yeah, I feel like you were really not thinking about like death, and that it would help society as a whole, since everyone is sort of like, everyone just ignores it. And when someone dies and everyone has to go to a funeral, then they like morgue for a day or two, and then everyone forgets about it again. I feel like it's something everyone should think about a lot more.
Yeah, I'm glad that you have that thought about it, because that's just good to be able to be with the uncomfortable and the things that's gonna happen, but yeah, of course the things that are scary. So that's true. And I also thought about the video that you took with Mo, and my thought was like, are you thinking about starting a podcast because I thought like it was a podcast kind of.
Oh yeah, it sort of was. Yeah, it was a weird video. It wasn't like a normal video. It was sort of like a regular YouTube video in the
Well, I
beginning,
like
and then
it.
it sort of like just changed. Yeah, just took a turn into sort of like a podcast format. So yeah, I just wasn't really. I just wanted to make like the trip an entire video, and I wanted to include that talk because I felt like it could be valuable for someone, or at least just for me to look back at too. So I just wanted to include everything, even though it was a bit weird, but that's how I did that.
Okay, so no thoughts about starting one.
Oh no, I don't think I'm gonna start podcast. Well, maybe in the future, maybe in Norwegian. I feel like I'm might be planning on making a bit more content in my own language, just again also for like sort of what we talked about in the beginning, sort of like the social aspect of it, so that I can do more stuff like with people around me, with friends and stuff, because everyone finds it super awkward if I'm, for example, just talking English like a Norwegian friend. They would probably like cringe too hard of that and couldn't join the video, or wouldn't be able to talk or anything. So yeah, I might try to maybe do that in Norwegian, but as of now, I don't plan on it. But it definitely can, it definitely can contain a lot of value. I feel like podcast is a great way to get a lot of value in while you're doing something else, at least compared to listening to music or something, even though you can probably like listen to music sometimes and listen to podcasts sometimes. But yeah, I think it's definitely like a good thing for the future that podcasts are so popular now. So maybe I'm not sure. I haven't really thought about it too much.
No, it's okay. Yeah, I love podcasts, and I love to switch between music and podcasts, especially the one from Jay Shetty and Brené Brown. Are one of those that I've heard a lot from.
Okay.
But are there some books about Stoic that you have read and will recommend?
I read Meditation, which is written by like one of the Stoic philosophers. That is called Marcus Aurelius. Yeah, the book's called Meditations. I didn't really find it too interesting, to be honest, because it was sort of like, it wasn't made for anyone to actually learn from. It was only his like personal diary, which was then shared and republished. So it definitely has like some important lessons, but just to learn about Stoicism, I wouldn't really recommend that one.
No.
I know that Ryan Holiday has a few good Stoic books. I have like I haven't read it yet, but I have it. what's it called? I have it here. The obstacle is the way. That's sort of like a
Oh
good
yeah.
book I've heard. I haven't even read it, so I can't say if it's good or not.
Oh,
But yeah, it's just about overcoming adversity and sort of like having that perspective of if there's like an obstacle, then it's not a bad thing because you're going to grow from it, and sort of like looking
yeah.
at every sort of obstacle as a opportunity to learn and grow and be better instead of looking at it in like a darker way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't really read that much about Stoicism. I mostly just watched probably just learned from it through YouTube videos for the most part at
Mm.
least. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Which are there some specific ones or just
Uh,
yeah.
there's probably like some self-improvement channels that have talked about it a lot, and
Mm.
I can't remember any channels. I just remember I was really into it, and I just like watched a lot of different videos on it from like a
Mm.
ton of different people, so I
Yeah.
can't really say, but there's definitely like a lot of good videos on YouTube if you want
Yeah.
to learn more about Stoicism. So I recommend everyone to just look that up. It's sort of like a good way of uh, being more okay with your emotions and sort of like
Mm.
being less stressed because you're more so like accepting the hard things that
Mm.
come with life instead of just
Yeah,
not trying
definitely.
to make them happen, which sort of
Mm.
like creates this friction of you not accepting reality. So yeah, it's all about just like accepting reality, accepting the hard comes, and accepting your emotions, and sort of like being okay with not being perfect and all
Yeah.
that. Yeah, so I really like that philosophy.
Yeah.
I probably want to learn more about it, though. I definitely don't
Mm.
know everything about it, but yeah, I like everything I know of it thus far. And
Mm.
it's like 2000 years ago almost too, so it's crazy to
Yeah.
think that like that much of a very old philosophy like pertains to the present now as well,
Mm.
even though our society is completely different. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting to use that from that time in our time.
Yeah.
It is. I don't know if you see this remaining meeting time. There's like there came something up, but
Oh yeah, I see it. Yeah, I
if
see it.
it's gonna stop, I'm just gonna say it, and then if we are over that time, I'll just start it again. But
Yeah,
I
that
think
works.
yeah, I think that will work out
Yeah.
fine. Yeah. So the last thing I wrote down was about you talked a bit about it last time, but I just want to come around it again. When you journaling, and it was actually more about kind of do you do affirmations? Is that something you use?
Uh, no, I can't say I do it. I probably have like, I think I sort of like tried it once, but
Yeah.
sort of like gave up on it pretty quickly.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, so I don't do it now at
No.
least. Yeah, do you do them?
Yeah, I do. I do. I've been trying to train it like for the past half year, and I
Yeah,
think
okay.
it's worked pretty good. Yeah, I think it's actually one of the things that works best for me, because
Okay.
of all of the self beliefs that we have about ourselves. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So just writing things that come to my mind and then just having it. It's kind of weird to sit and look at back on and think about, but it's just I think it's just trains the mind to believe in that. So yeah, I
Yeah.
just wanted to hear if that's something you have been taking use of also.
Yeah, I tried it. I don't think it's for me at least, but I know that it has worked for a lot of people. But yeah, I can definitely see why it works. So because you're sort of like reminding yourself of something, and when you remind yourself of something enough, then it sort of like seeps into your
Yeah,
unconscious. So that's sort of like how you think when
yeah,
you're not like aware of it. If you have that, for example, you have like a post note that says it, and you
oh yeah, you can have that too.
I used to I tried that for some time. Didn't really feel like it worked, but yeah, each to their own. So
Mm,
I've definitely heard a lot of people say that it helped
yeah.
them and stuff, so I can see why it works.
Yeah, I've had the post-its too, but I think the journaling definitely have helped me more because it's something that I've been repeating and doing actually myself. So I think
Yeah,
that's been the different by just having like a pointed hanging on there that you can look at it. But yeah, it's definitely different how we respond to it and what works for us as individuals. But yeah, you are reading a book at the time I saw on your story. I don't really know what. I don't remember what its name, but is it a good one? Is it one that you can recommend?
I can't remember if it's the one I'm reading at the moment. Do you remember anything about it? Because think I switched book since I last posted a book on my story.
It's like
Do
a
you
dark
know?
blue, I think, pretty thick.
Dark blue. Can you just give me like 5 seconds?
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay, so maybe you'll like remember the cover of any of these. I don't know. It's sort of like a guessing game at this point. But yeah, I read some of this. It might be this one. I don't know.
Not that one, but it looks good also.
Yeah, might be one of these. I don't
Yeah,
know if
this
you remember.
one, the one this way.
This one?
Yeah, because I was like,
Oh
is that
yeah,
a
yeah.
Danish book? And then I was like, no, it's Norwegian, but
Yeah. Oh, okay. I didn't remember I posted about this, but yeah, then I probably did. That's why I like was wondering if it was the book I read prior. Yeah,
yeah.
this is a cool book. It was actually pretty random because it's written by like a friend of my grandfather. So yeah, it's sort of like my grandfather sort of like it just recommended me this book, and it was like my grandfather, so I thought like, nah, it's probably gonna be like a trash book that I don't want to read because it don't know a lot about me. But it's sort of like the things that I'm into, like sort of like how society has changed and like why we are in this era now that like we have a lot of things better in terms of like money and materialistic things, like why people are generally more like anxious, depressed, and why we sort of like suffer more mentally now that we have more goods, since it's sort of like it probably should be opposite, like when we have more good things in our life, like materialistic wise, then we should be better off, but that's not really the case. So it's sort of like a philosophical book about that question. But yeah, pretty random that I read that though. Yeah, the guy who wrote it seems like a pretty clever guy. It's like his cancer research as well. So definitely I've learned a thing or two about them. Might actually, yeah, my grandfather said like when I'm going to finish reading that book, then he can probably hook me up with just meeting that guy, and we'll just like have a just have a meal and have a talk something, which seems pretty fun.
Cool.
Yeah, it's pretty random.
Yeah, well, that sounds like a good thing.
Yeah. The book is called in English the book is called Human, the Animal That Creates Its Own Reality.
Yeah.
It's sort of like how our thoughts affect us and stuff.
Yeah.
Which I'm very interested in. So don't think it's in English though. Unfortunately,
No.
I don't know.
No.
But yeah,
it's Norwegian, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you maybe could have read it. I'm not sure.
Well, at first,
it's very similar.
Yeah, well, at first when I saw it on the picture, I was like, is that a Danish book? Because the most of it was spelled like Danish, but then I saw there was like one word that was kind of different, and then I was like, oh, that's probably something in Norwegian.
Yeah.
Yeah. So well, that's a great one. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, sure. That's the first Norwegian book I read as well. I've only read English thus far, so it's kind of weird. But I feel like my vocabulary is better in English now, so I feel like just reading a few Norwegian books will probably help me articulate myself more or better in Norwegian too, which I obviously speak the majority of the time, so it's probably a good thing.
Yeah. It's kind of it's a fun thing sometimes to switch between the what's it called? Yeah, their own language and the English language. Yeah, it is, but it's quite fun and good learning process. So yeah, I actually don't have anything more. But if you have something you would like to share or say, something you have on, then you can just.
That's a hard question. I don't really think I have anything.
No,
to say. Okay. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard.
Yeah, that's okay. Well, then thank you for being on here on Dare to podcast, and
Still
Hope
pretty
I,
solid. 40 minutes or almost 40 minutes.
yeah, it
Close
is.
to that.
It is. Yeah,
Still a
into
good
the
talk.
time. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it really was. Thank you for for a great talk and a lot of great wise experiments from you that I think great and really relatable also to the society that we live in, and so yes, that's it.
Yeah, thank you for
Yeah,
having me.
right. Yeah, you do. So I'll see you. Then I'll just end it before it end itself.
Oh yeah, I didn't pay attention to that. Okay. Yeah, well then you barely made it, so that's a good thing.
Yeah. Hey, and welcome back. Welcome back from the conversation with Magnus Bulkan. I really hope that you enjoyed this part. Uh, I think it was a great conversation, great second conversation with Magnus. We always have a lot of good stuff. We are, bonding over some good things and also have some things that, or several things that we are like-minded around. So I really appreciate his time and the friendship of him. And then I just hope that you'd enjoyed the conversation and that you want to subscribe to this podcast and listen to some of the other episodes maybe if you haven't already. Write to us or to me on the Instagram page, rate the podcast, comment something or whatever you feel like. If you want to, feel free to do that. And I really appreciate you being here, listening to the podcast, listening to this conversation, and spending some of your time here on the podcast. It really means a lot to me, and I hope you find it useful, find it helpful, find it inspiring, and if you want to, you can share it. It's okay if you don't want to, but I really hope you got something from this, and love to you all, and see you in the next conversation, or hear you. So see ya.